from what I understand, President Trump has a big trip to the Middle East upcoming. You're going to be joining him on a number of these stops. He's going to Saudi Arabia, to UAE, to Qatar. And then also you have the next round of talks coming up as well with the Iranians in Oman. Can you kind of preview this trip that you're going to be taking with President Trump to the Middle East more broadly, and then kind of tell us where do we stand with the Iranians as you go into, from what I understand, this is your fourth meeting upcoming with them.
Yes.
So where do we stand going into this fourth meeting?
Well, we've stated our position. The Iranians cannot have a bomb. And they have stated back that they don't want one. So we're going to, for the purposes of this discussion, accept them at their word that that's actually how they feel. If that's how they feel, then their enrichment facilities have to be dismantled. They cannot have centrifuges. They have to downblend all of their fuel that they have there, send it to a faraway place, and they have to convert to a civil program if they want to run a civil program. Now, they have a civil reactor actually in the state of Iran. It's called Bushehr. And they have no enrichment capability at this place. And so if we take them at their word, why not just turn all the rest of their facilities just like Bushehr? Bushehr, they have no ability to enrich. They have no ability to have centrifuges there. They can only use that facility for civilian purposes, making of electricity, things of that sort for civilian purposes. And if that's what they choose to do, if they believe in that program, they ought to expand it if they want to. But an enrichment program can never exist in the state of Iran ever again. And that's our red line. No enrichment, that means dismantlement, it means no weaponization, and it means that Natanz, Fordow, and Esfahan, those are their three enrichment facilities, have to be dismantled.
So if they're saying this stuff, are you at all concerned that we end up at a place where, a deal looks like a JCPOA from the Obama administration? Or are the Iranians in a different position today than they were, a decade or so ago when they were negotiating that deal? Does this deal look a lot different than that?
I think they're a lot more vulnerable today, but look, we're not. The purpose here is to actually sit with them, and talk them through why they should do it our way. They may not accept that, but it makes no sense to me that they wouldn't accept it. First of all, we're never doing a JCPOA deal where sanctions come off and there's no sunsetting of their obligations. So that doesn't make sense. That was a mismatched procedure in JCPOA. We believe that they cannot have enrichment, they cannot have centrifuges, they cannot have anything that allows them to build a weapon. We believe in all of that. That was not JCPOA. JCPOA had sunset provisions that burned off the obligations and burned off the sanctions relief at inappropriate times. It's never going to happen in this deal.
It sounds like you're confident that they want to work towards a deal. They're saying what you guys are saying.
Well, I'm a rational, sensible person, so I just believe that they have no choice. I mean, obviously they can say no, but and they can test President Trump. I think that would be an unwise thing to do. I don't mean that in a confrontational way to them if they end up watching this show. I mean it as a reality. They can have a bomb, and they've said they don't want a bomb. They have attested to it. And they've said they only want to operate in a civil way. There are multiple civil nuclear programs all over the world, and they're operating without enrichment capability. They don't need enrichment capability to operate a civil program.
It sounds like you guys are going to really hold to this. Like, you're not going to take a bad deal. You're only going to take a deal if it's a good deal and it meets those requirements.
That's correct. And it was, and look, we didn't think that the talks last week were going to be productive because we needed to get to certain understandings with them. And hopefully this Sunday they will be productive. And hopefully that means that they will continue those talks. If they're not productive on Sunday, then they won't continue. and we'll have to take a different route.
The last thing on Iran, it sounds like the conversations at this point are focused exclusively on nuclear issues.
Correct.
Do you expect there to be broadening of those conversations to include things like, say, a human rights provision, like we saw maybe with the Helsinki deal with the Soviets back in the 1970s, or economic conversations, or do you think that it could go broader than the nuclear conversation?
Look, Iran, we're inviting Iran to be a member of the League of Nations. We think that they're industrious people, smart people, historically, savvy, good merchants, all those sorts. I have plenty of friends of Iranian heritage, and they're some interesting people. I mean, authors and doctors and lawyers and so forth. We're saying to Iran, you can be a better nation. We can do business with you. We can have strategic relationships with you. But you can't be a provocateur. Now, our negotiation with them today is limited to nuclear, but do we think that that they need to stop enabling Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and getting and pulling back from being a provocateur? We do believe that. That's a secondary discussion. Do we think that they should not be supplying weapons to people who we consider to be our enemies? We believe that. But again, we don't want to confuse the nuclear discussion, because that, to us, is the existential issue. That's the issue that needs to be solved today and quickly.